The first warning came not with a thunderous roar, but with a whisper of quantum static that rippled across the electromagnetic spectrum. At 3:42 UTC, the global communication network began to fracture, not from an attack, but from a systematic, almost surgical disconnection that left humanity's technological nervous system paralyzed. In a small apartment overlooking Tokyo's Shibuya crossing, Keiko Nakamura watched the city's massive screens flicker and die. Her fingers, stained with spray paint and holding a half-finished street art piece, trembled as the vibrant digital billboards transformed into silent blank canvases. Outside, the normally bustling intersection fell into an unnatural stillness, as if the entire city was holding its breath. Keiko was no ordinary artist. Her mother, a quantum communications engineer, had instilled in her a unique perspective that bridged art and technology. The intricate neural network patterns in her street art were more than just visual expression. They were complex algorithms disguised as urban creativity. Little did she know how crucial this would become. 12,000 kilometers away, in a classified research facility buried beneath the Atacama Desert, Dr. Elena Rodriguez studied a holographic display that was rapidly becoming a nightmare. Her prosthetic arm, a marvel of quantum adaptive technology she had developed after losing her original limb in a particle accelerator accident, began to pulse with an unusual frequency. "They're here," she whispered, her voice cutting through the sterile silence of the research lab. The holographic display revealed something unprecedented. The incoming Zorn fleet wasn't just approaching, they were systematically dismantling humanity's orbital infrastructure with a precision that suggested decades of careful preparation. Communication satellites, GPS networks, military surveillance systems, all vanished in moments, like soap bubbles popped by an invisible finger. Admiral Krelax of the Zorn Imperium watched from the bridge of the flagship Sovereign Decree. His biomechanical exoskeleton shifted with anticipation, multiple eyes scanning data streams that confirmed humanity's complete vulnerability. Centuries of galactic conquest had taught the Zorn one fundamental lesson. Technological superiority guaranteed victory. But the Zorn had a critical blind spot. They understood systems, but they could not comprehend creativity. In a military command center beneath the Pentagon, Major Jack Hawthorne, a strategist who had been repeatedly dismissed for unconventional tactical theories, was the first to recognize the true nature of the attack. While others saw a standard invasion protocol, Jack saw something far more insidious, a plan designed to crush human spirit before the first physical weapon was fired. "It's not about destroying infrastructure," Jack muttered to himself, tracing the invasion's quantum disruption patterns. "It's about removing our ability to communicate, to adapt, to hope." The first physical manifestation of the Zorn presence came simultaneously across major global cities, in Tokyo, New York, London, Sao Paulo, and Moscow. Massive biomechanical ships materialized, their surfaces shifting between solid matter and quantum fields. These were not traditional spacecraft, but living weapons that defied conventional understanding of physics and biology. Keiko's artwork began to react. The neural network patterns she had been painting, influenced by her mother's research into quantum communication, started to pulse with an autonomous energy. Her street art, spread across multiple buildings, began to interconnect, forming a spontaneous communication grid that the Zorn's disruption technologies couldn't fully suppress. Dr. Rodriguez detected the anomaly first. "The art. It's creating its own network," she said, her prosthetic arm translating the quantum fluctuations into comprehensible data. The very thing the Zorn sought to destroy was becoming humanity's first line of defense. Admiral Krelax, reviewing the invasion metrics, allowed himself a moment of supreme confidence. The probability models suggested total human capitulation within 72 hours. The Zorn Imperium had conquered civilizations far more technologically advanced than these humans. This would be nothing more than a systematic pacification. What Krelax didn't understand was that humanity's strength was never about technological superiority, but about the ability to transform, to find possibility in impossibility. The silent apocalypse had begun, but humanity was already preparing a response that would rewrite the rules of cosmic conflict. The world didn't fall silent. It fragmented. In the first 48 hours after the Zorn invasion, humanity's response was a chaotic symphony of survival and defiance. Major Jack Hawthorne found himself in an abandoned research facility deep in the Canadian wilderness, surrounded by a group of survivors that defied every conventional military doctrine. Park Seo-yeon, a retired Korean cybersecurity specialist, hunched over a jury-rigged communication array. Her fingers, scared from years of digital warfare, danced across a keyboard cobbled together from salvaged military and consumer electronics. "They're watching everything," she muttered, her voice a mix of excitement and paranoia. "But they can't see everything." Beside her, Rafael Oliveira, a Brazilian environmental engineer turned survival expert, was dismantling a captured Zorn communication device. His background in adaptive ecosystem management gave him a unique perspective on breaking down complex systems. "These aliens," he said, holding up a quantum-entangled circuit, "they think in straight lines. Nature never does." The fourth member of their unlikely team was Dr. Amelia Chen, a quantum computing specialist who communicated primarily through an elaborate system of memes, encrypted messages, and seemingly random internet references. Her laptop, a Frankenstein's monster of modified hardware, was constantly shifting communication protocols faster than any tracking system could follow. Jack studied their makeshift command center. This wasn't a military unit. It was a living, breathing organism of human creativity and resilience. Each member brought something the Zorn could never anticipate: the ability to completely reimagine the rules of engagement. "The invasion isn't just about physical conquest," Jack explained, tracing quantum disruption patterns on a holographic map. "It's a systematic attempt to break our communication, our ability to organize, to hope." Meanwhile, in Tokyo, Kiko Nakamura discovered the true power of her mother's research. The neural network patterns in her street art weren't just decorative. They were a living, adaptive communication system. As Zorn ships hovered above the city, her artwork began to pulse with an autonomous energy, creating micro-communication nodes that the alien disruption technologies couldn't fully suppress. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, tracking the phenomenon from her desert research facility, watched in astonishment. "It's not just art," she whispered to herself. "It's a biological digital hybrid communication network." The Zorn had a critical weakness they couldn't comprehend. Humanity wasn't a unified hierarchical system that could be systematically dismantled. They were a chaotic, adaptive network of individuals who could transform limitations into opportunities. In Sao Paulo, underground hacker collectives began weaponizing memes and internet culture. What the Zorn saw as random noise, these digital warriors transformed into a complex communication system. Viral videos became encrypted messages. Social media trends became tactical communication channels. Jack's team discovered the first significant exploit. The Zorn's invasion strategy relied on absolute predictability. Their quantum communication networks functioned like a massive interconnected hive mind. But human communication was fundamentally different. It was messy, unpredictable, filled with nuance, emotion, and creativity. "We're not trying to fight them with their technology," Raphael explained, showing a modified Zorn communication device that now looked more like a piece of abstract art than a weapon. "We're turning their own systems into something they can't understand." Seo-yeon intercepted a Zorn communication stream. The translation was bizarre, mathematical precision, mixed with what could only be described as existential confusion. The aliens were struggling to process the chaos of human communication. Dr. Chen's meme-based communication system proved to be the most effective. What appeared to be random internet humor was actually a sophisticated encryption method that the Zorn's linear thinking couldn't decode. Each meme was a multi-layered message, carrying tactical information beneath layers of cultural references and digital noise. As the first week of invasion concluded, the Zorn found themselves facing an impossible scenario. Their invasion wasn't just being resisted, it was being systematically transformed into something they couldn't comprehend. Admiral Krelax reviewed the invasion metrics with growing unease. The probability models were breaking down. Humanity wasn't just resisting, they were rewriting the fundamental rules of conflict. The fractured resistance was becoming something far more dangerous than a unified military response. It was becoming a living, breathing entity that defied all known rules of engagement. Humanity's true weapon wasn't technology. It was the ability to see possibility where others saw only limitation. The breakthrough came from the most unexpected place, a collaborative network that bridged art, science, technology, and pure human audacity. Dr. Elena Rodriguez's research facility in the Atacama Desert had transformed into a global nerve center of resistance. Her prosthetic arm, now a marvel of adaptive quantum technology, interfaced with a global network of disparate systems that defied traditional communication protocols. Behind her, holographic displays showed a living, breathing ecosystem of human creativity that was rapidly becoming humanity's most potent weapon. "We're not just fighting," Elena muttered, her fingers dancing across quantum interfaces. "We're reimagining conflict itself." The key came from an analysis of neural patterns collected from the most unexpected sources: street artists, jazz musicians, improv performers, and chaos theorists. Each group represented a form of human expression that relied on spontaneity, adaptation, and the ability to transform limitation into opportunity. Keiko Nakamura's street art network proved to be the initial breakthrough. What appeared to be random patterns of urban creativity was actually a sophisticated communication system that could adapt faster than any known technological framework. Each piece of art was a node in a living, breathing network that the Zorn's quantum disruption technologies couldn't fully comprehend. In a converted warehouse in Sao Paulo, Rafael Oliveira worked alongside a team of neuroscientists, quantum physicists, and digital artists. They were developing what they called the chaos algorithm, a computational approach that was more organic than mechanical, more living than programmed. "The Zorn understands systems," Raphael explained to Jack Hawthorne during the encrypted communication burst, "but they can't understand emergence. They see patterns. We create possibilities." The algorithm was revolutionary. By analyzing human creativity across multiple disciplines, they developed a quantum communication protocol that was fundamentally unpredictable. It wasn't just a technological solution, it was a cultural weapon. Dr. Amelia Chen's contribution was equally bizarre and brilliant. She had developed a communication system that used internet meme culture as an encryption method. What appeared to be random viral content was actually a sophisticated communication network. A cat video could contain tactical information. A seemingly nonsensical tweet could be a complex battle plan. Park Seo-yin's cybersecurity background proved crucial. She developed infiltration protocols that turned the Zorn's own communication networks against them. Each intercepted alien communication became a potential vector for human counterintelligence. The first major test came unexpectedly. A Zorn communication ship found itself suddenly broadcasting a mix of bebop jazz, abstract street art patterns, and quantum computational noise. The ship's systems began to fragment, unable to process the fundamental randomness of human creativity. Admiral Krelax received the first reports with mounting confusion. The invasion metrics were breaking down. Human resistance wasn't just technological. It was a form of conflict the Zorn had never encountered. In underground labs, universities, and makeshift research centers around the world, humanity was doing something unprecedented. They weren't just developing a technological response. They were creating a living, breathing adaptive system that transformed the very nature of conflict. Elena's breakthrough came when she realized the true nature of their approach. The chaos algorithm wasn't just a communication protocol. It was a way of understanding conflict that was fundamentally alien to the Zorn's hierarchical, predictive mindset. "We're not developing a weapon," she told Jack during their next encrypted communication. "We're creating a new form of intelligence, One that doesn't just respond to threats, one that transforms them. The viral revolution was about more than survival. It was about redefining the very nature of human potential. As the first month of invasion concluded, the Zorn found themselves facing an impossible scenario. Their invasion wasn't just being resisted, it was being systematically transformed into something they couldn't comprehend. Humanity's true strength was becoming clear. They didn't just adapt to challenges, they reimagined them entirely. The viral revolution had begun, and the Zorn had no idea what was coming. The first indication that something was fundamentally wrong came when the Zorn communication channels began to leak music. Not just any music. It started with a burst of bebop jazz that scattered through their quantum communication networks like an auditory virus. Miles Davis's most chaotic improvisations mixed with quantum computational noise, creating a signal that defied all known communication protocols. Admiral Krillax watched in mounting horror as multiple Zorn warships began to exhibit signs of systemic breakdown. The ship's biomechanical interfaces started displaying increasingly erratic behaviors. One moment, they would be tracking invasion coordinates. The next, they would burst into seemingly random displays of color, sound, and mathematical impossibilities. Dr. Amelia Chen's meme warfare team had discovered the Zorn's most critical vulnerability: their inability to process true randomness. The human psychological warfare was a multi-layered assault that attacked the very foundations of the Zorn's hierarchical consciousness. What began as isolated incidents quickly became a coordinated global campaign of creative disruption. In Tokyo, Keiko Nakamura's street art network began broadcasting complex neural patterns that were part communication, part art, part mathematical theorem. Each piece of urban art became a node in a living communication system that the Zorn could detect but never fully understand. Major Jack Hawthorne coordinated from their hidden base in the Canadian wilderness. "We're not just fighting," he explained to his team. "We're fundamentally challenging their understanding of communication, of consciousness itself." Park Seo-yeon's cybersecurity team developed communication packets that were works of art in themselves. A single transmission might contain tactical information embedded within layers of cultural references, mathematical equations, and seemingly nonsensical artistic expressions. To the Zorn, it was indistinguishable from noise. But to humans, it was a sophisticated communication network. The psychological warfare reached new heights when human resistance groups began broadcasting entire cultural experiences directly into Zorn communication channels. A squadron of alien ships suddenly found themselves experiencing a continuous stream of human creativity: improvisational jazz, abstract expressionist paintings, experimental theater, and quantum physics lectures. Rafael Oliveira discovered that the Zorn's hierarchical consciousness had a critical weakness. Their communication systems were designed for absolute predictability, but human creativity operated on entirely different principles. "They understand information," Rafael explained, "but they can't comprehend imagination." Dr. Elena Rodriguez's research revealed the true nature of their psychological assault. The human mind, with its capacity for abstract thinking, metaphor, and creative problem-solving, was fundamentally incomprehensible to the Zorn's linear thought processes. One Zorn warship began broadcasting an endless loop of Charlie Chaplin's The Great Dictator's speech, mixed with quantum computational noise and fragments of experimental music. The ship's command structure began to fragment, unable to process the multilayered communication. Admiral Krillax received reports that defied all probability. Entire squadrons of Zorn ships were experiencing what could only be described as existential breakdowns. Their communication networks were being transformed from within, infected by a form of creative chaos they had no framework to understand. The psychological warfare was total. It wasn't just about disrupting communication, it was about challenging the very foundations of the Zorn's understanding of consciousness, creativity, and possibility. Dr. Amelia Chen's team developed what they called mimetic warfare protocols, communication systems that were part internet humor, part tactical communication, part artistic expression, A single meme could contain layers of encrypted information that would take the Zorn months to even begin to comprehend. As the second month of invasion concluded, the Zorn found themselves facing an impossible scenario. Their invasion wasn't just being resisted, it was being systematically transformed into something that challenged their entire understanding of conflict, communication, and consciousness. Humanity's true weapon wasn't technology or military might. It was the ability to see possibility where others saw only limitation. The psychological warfare had begun in earnest, and the Zorn had no idea what was coming next. The first counteroffensive began with a symphony of impossible technologies. Deep within a repurposed particle accelerator facility in the Swiss Alps, Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood before a device that defied every known principle of physics and engineering. Surrounding her, a team of scientists, artists, and military strategists watched as humanity's most audacious weapon took shape. "This isn't just a weapon," Elena explained, her prosthetic arm interfacing with a holographic display that seemed to breathe with its own consciousness. "It's a complete reimagining of technological potential." The device, christened the Quantum Adaptive Response System, QARS, was born from the most unlikely collaboration in human history. Pieces of captured Zorn technology merged with quantum computing algorithms, neural network art, and adaptive ecosystem modeling created something entirely unprecedented. Major Jack Hawthorne reviewed the final preparations. Their strategy was nothing short of revolutionary. Instead of trying to match the Zorn's technological superiority, they would transform the very nature of technological engagement. Keiko Nakamura's neural network art played a crucial role. The patterns she had been creating across global cities were more than just communication nodes. They were adaptive computational matrices that could reconfigure themselves faster than any tracking system could follow. Each piece of street art was a potential weapon, a communication hub, a computational center. The first test came unexpectedly. A Zorn battle group approaching the Pacific Rim found itself confronting a defense system that was alive in every sense of the word. Urban infrastructure transformed into a living, breathing defensive network. Bridges became computational nodes. Skyscrapers shifted their structural integrity to create quantum interference patterns. Rafael Oliveira's environmental adaptation algorithms proved crucial. Drawing from years of research in ecosystem resilience, he had developed a way to make human infrastructure behave like a complex biological system, unpredictable, adaptive, impossible to fully comprehend. Park Seo-yeon's cybersecurity team had created communication protocols that were works of art in themselves. Each transmission was a multi-layered puzzle, part tactical information, part cultural expression, part mathematical theorem. The Zorn's communication systems began to fragment, unable to process the complexity. Admiral Krillax watched in mounting confusion as human resistance defied every known principle of warfare. Their defense wasn't just technological, it was a living, breathing entity that could transform its own nature in milliseconds. The QAR's system demonstrated capabilities that bordered on the miraculous. Captured Zorn weapon systems were not just neutralized but transformed. A quantum disruptor became a communication node. A battleship's weapon array could suddenly generate complex artistic patterns that served as computational matrices. Dr. Amelia Chen's meme warfare protocols reached new heights of sophistication. What appeared to be random internet content became sophisticated tactical communication. A viral cat video could contain encrypted battle plans. A seemingly nonsensical tweet could be a complex computational attack. The turning point came during the Battle of the Pacific Rim. A Zorn battle group approaching the west coast of North America found itself confronting a defense system that was fundamentally alive. San Francisco transformed into a living computational matrix. The Golden Gate Bridge became a quantum communication node. Alcatraz Island generated quantum interference patterns that made the Zorn ship's targeting systems collapse. "We're not defending," Jack told Elena during a quantum-encrypted communication burst. "We're revealing an entirely new way of understanding conflict." Each human city became a potential weapon. Urban infrastructure was no longer just a collection of buildings and roads. It was a living, breathing computational system that could adapt, transform, and resist in ways the Zorn could never anticipate. The Zorn discovered a terrifying truth. Humanity's true technological potential lay not in superior hardware, but in the ability to see possibility where others saw only limitation. As the third month of invasion concluded, the alien force found itself facing an impossible scenario. Their invasion wasn't just being resisted, it was being systematically transformed into something they could never understand. Humanity's counteroffensive had begun, and the Zorn had no idea what was coming next. The Zorn Imperium's carefully constructed reality began to unravel in moments of increasing absurdity. Admiral Krillax stood on the bridge of the Sovereign Decree, watching as his most advanced battle groups descended into inexplicable chaos. What had begun as a systematic invasion had transformed into something beyond comprehension. His multiple eyes, each designed to process information with quantum-level precision, could no longer make sense of the incoming data streams. One by one, Zorn ships started exhibiting behaviors that defied all known principles of technological engagement. A battlecruiser suddenly began broadcasting a continuous loop of human jazz performances, mixed with complex mathematical equations. Another ship's weapon systems reconfigured themselves into what could only be described as a massive planet-scale art installation. The breakthrough came from an unlikely collaboration between Dr. Elena Rodriguez's quantum research team and a group of urban architects led by Rafael Oliveira. They had discovered how to transform entire metropolitan areas into living, breathing computational systems that could adapt faster than any known tracking technology. Sao Paulo was the first demonstration. As a Zorn assault group approached the city, the urban landscape itself became a weapon. Skyscrapers shifted their structural integrity, generating quantum interference patterns. Bridges transformed into massive communication nodes. Street art by Kiko Nakamura's global network came alive, creating adaptive computational matrices that rendered the aliens' targeting systems completely useless. Major Jack Hawthorne coordinated from their hidden command center, his strategy moving beyond traditional military thinking. "We're not just defending," he explained to his team. "We're revealing an entirely new way of understanding conflict, of understanding possibility." Dr. Amelia Chen's meme warfare protocols reached their most sophisticated stage. What appeared to be random internet content became a sophisticated tactical communication network. A viral video could contain encrypted battle plans. A seemingly nonsensical social media post could be a complex computational attack that would take the Zorn months to even begin to comprehend. Park Seo-yeon's cybersecurity team had developed communication protocols that were works of art in themselves. Each transmission was a multi-layered puzzle, part tactical information, part cultural expression, part mathematical theorem. The Zorn's communication systems began to fragment, unable to process the complexity of human creativity. The psychological warfare reached its peak when human resistance groups began broadcasting entire cultural experiences directly into Zorn communication channels. Entire squadrons found themselves experiencing simultaneous streams of human creativity, improvisational jazz melting into quantum physics lectures, abstract expressionist paintings transforming into complex computational algorithms. Admiral Krillax received reports that defied all probability. Entire battle groups were experiencing what could only be described as existential breakdowns. Their hierarchical command structures, once the pinnacle of galactic military efficiency, were collapsing under the weight of human unpredictability. The Zorn had a critical weakness they could never have anticipated. Their entire technological and cultural framework was built on absolute predictability. Humanity's strength lay in its ability to transform limitation into opportunity, to see potential where others saw only constraints. In the research facility beneath the Atacama Desert, Dr. Elena Rodriguez watched the transformation with a mixture of scientific fascination and human defiance. Her prosthetic arm, now a marvel of adaptive quantum technology, interfaced with a global network that was part communication system, part living artwork, part computational matrix. "We're not just fighting," Alina muttered to herself. "We're revealing an entirely new understanding of consciousness." The breaking point came during what would later be called the quantum cascade. Every major human city became a potential weapon. Urban infrastructure was no longer just a collection of buildings and roads. It was a living, breathing computational system that could adapt, transform, and resist in ways the Zorn could never anticipate. As the fourth month of invasion concluded, the Zorn found themselves facing an impossible scenario. Their invasion wasn't just being resisted, it was being systematically transformed into something that challenged their entire understanding of conflict, communication, and consciousness. Humanity's true weapon wasn't technology or military might. It was the ability to see possibility where others saw only limitation. The breaking point had been reached, and the Zorn had no idea what was coming next. The counter-invasion began with a symphony of impossible technologies. Major Jack Hawthorne stood on the bridge of the RSS Resilience, a vessel that defied every known principle of spacecraft design. Constructed from a fusion of captured Zorn technology, human innovation, and quantum adaptive systems, the ship was less a traditional spacecraft and more a living, breathing computational matrix. "We're not just going to fight," Jack told his diverse crew. "We're going to fundamentally transform their understanding of conflict." The crew was a testament to human potential. Dr. Elena Rodriguez managed the quantum adaptive systems, her prosthetic arm interfacing directly with the ship's living computational matrix. Park Seo-yeon handled communication disruption protocols. Rafael Oliveira oversaw adaptive navigation systems that could reconfigure faster than any tracking technology could anticipate. Keiko Nakamura's neural network art covered the ship's exterior, each pattern a potential weapon, communication node, and computational center. What appeared to be abstract designs were actually complex adaptive algorithms that could transform the very nature of the ship's engagement with space itself. Their first target was a major Zorn military installation near the Carina Nebula. As they approached, the RSS Resilience didn't so much fly as it did dance, shifting, adapting, becoming something that defied traditional understanding of space travel. Dr. Amelia Chen's meme warfare protocols reached their ultimate expression. The ship's communication systems were a living, breathing entity that could transform tactical information into complex artistic expressions. A single transmission might contain battle plans embedded within layers of cultural references, mathematical equations, and seemingly nonsensical creative outputs. The Zorn defense systems never stood a chance. Where traditional military doctrine would call for direct confrontation, the human counter-invasion was something entirely different. Each engagement was part tactical assault, part artistic expression, part philosophical statement. Entire Zorn military installations found themselves facing a form of warfare that was fundamentally incomprehensible. Weapon systems would suddenly reconfigure into complex computational matrices. Communication networks would dissolve into streams of jazz, quantum equations, and neural network patterns. Admiral Krillax watched in mounting horror as human forces systematically dismantled the Zorn Imperium's most advanced military infrastructure. It wasn't just a military defeat, it was a complete ontological challenge to everything the Zorn understood about conflict, technology, and consciousness. The RSS Resilience approached a massive Zorn command station. Instead of traditional weapons, the ship began broadcasting a complex transmission that was part battle plan, part artistic manifesto. Quantum computational algorithms mixed with improvisational music. Neural network patterns transformed into tactical communication nodes. "We're not conquering," Elena explained to Jack, her prosthetic arm interfacing with the ship's adaptive systems. "We're revealing an entirely new way of understanding potential." Each human ship was a living weapon. Constructed from a fusion of captured Zorn technology, human creativity, and quantum adaptive systems, they were less traditional spacecraft and more mobile computational ecosystems that could transform their very nature in milliseconds. The Zorn discovered a terrifying truth. Humanity's technological potential lay not in superior hardware, but in the ability to see possibility where others saw only limitation. Raphael's adaptive navigation systems turned space itself into a tactical advantage. Entire star systems became potential weapons. Gravitational fields could be reconfigured. Quantum interference patterns could be generated that would render Zorn tracking systems completely useless. Park Seo-yeon's communication disruption protocols reached their ultimate expression. What appeared to be random noise was actually a sophisticated communication network that could transmit complex tactical information faster than any known communication technology. As they systematically dismantled the Zorn's military infrastructure, the human counter-invasion became something more than a military campaign. It was a complete reimagining of conflict, of potential, of consciousness itself. The fifth month of the conflict concluded with the Zorn Imperium facing total systemic collapse. Their invasion hadn't just been stopped. It had been systematically transformed into something they could never understand. Humanity's true strength was becoming clear. They didn't just adapt to challenges. They reimagined them entirely. The cosmic retribution had begun, and the universe would never be the same. The final confrontation was never going to be a traditional battle. Admiral Krillak stood, or rather, was forcibly suspended, in the central chamber of the RSS Resilience. Stripped of his biomechanical exoskeleton, the once mighty ruler of the Zorn Imperium was reduced to witnessing the complete dissolution of everything he had ever understood about power, conflict, and civilization. Major Jack Hawthorne approached, accompanied by Dr. Elena Rodriguez, Keiko Nakamura, and the rest of the team that had transformed humanity's resistance into a cosmic revolution. "You came to conquer," Jack said, his voice calm and measured, "but you never understood the most fundamental truth about humanity." The chamber itself was a testament to human potential. Walls shifted with neural network patterns that were simultaneously art, communication system, and computational matrix. Captured Zorn technology had been completely repurposed, transformed into something that defied the original designer's comprehension. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stepped forward, her prosthetic arm interfacing with the ship's systems. "Technological superiority means nothing," she explained, "when you can't comprehend the true nature of adaptation." Keiko Nakamura's artwork covered the chamber surfaces, each pattern a complex algorithm, each line a potential communication node. What appeared to be abstract designs were actually living, breathing systems of information and possibility. The dissolution of the Zorn Imperium was not a military victory. It was a complete ontological transformation. Park Seo-yeon had systematically dismantled the Zorn's communication infrastructure, revealing that what they had considered an impenetrable network was actually a brittle system, unable to adapt to true randomness. Dr. Amelia Chen's mean warfare protocols had proven that information could be a weapon far more powerful than any physical technology. Rafael Oliveira's adaptive systems research had demonstrated how organic principles of resilience and transformation could be applied to technological and social structures. The Zorn's hierarchical civilization was fundamentally incapable of the kind of collaborative, adaptive thinking that humans had developed. Admiral Krillak experienced the most profound moment of understanding in his centuries-long existence. The invasion of Earth was not a miscalculation. It was a fundamental failure to comprehend the nature of consciousness itself. "You saw us as a linear system," Jack explained, "but we are a network. Unpredictable, adaptive, alive." The final transformation began. The RSS Resilience was more than a spacecraft. It was a living demonstration of human potential. Captured Zorn technology was systematically repurposed, its fundamental nature changed by human creativity and adaptive thinking. Entire Zorn military installations found themselves transformed. Weapon systems became communication networks. Hierarchical command structures dissolved into collaborative, adaptive systems. The very infrastructure of the Zorn Imperium was being reimagined from within. Dr. Rodriguez's quantum adaptive systems revealed the true potential of technological engagement. Each captured Zorn system became an opportunity for reimagination. Traditional notions of conquest and defense were completely dissolved. "We're not destroying," Elena told Admiral Krillak. We're revealing possibilities you could never comprehend. The cosmic transformation went beyond military conflict. Other alien civilizations watched with a mixture of terror and fascination. Humanity had not just survived an invasion. They had fundamentally altered the nature of galactic interaction. Keiko's neural network art began to spread beyond human space. Each pattern was a potential communication system, a way of understanding that transcended traditional technological boundaries. Art became communication. Communication became possibility. Raphael's ecological adaptation principles were applied to entire star systems. Humanity began to demonstrate an approach to cosmic existence that was fundamentally different from any known civilization. Not conquest, not defense, but continuous, collaborative transformation. Admiral Krellax was forced to witness the complete dissolution of the Zorn Imperium's philosophical and technological foundations. What had begun as an invasion became a profound lesson in the nature of consciousness, adaptation, and potential. As the final moments of confrontation concluded, humanity emerged not as conquerors, but as a new type of cosmic entity, a civilization defined by its ability to see possibility where others saw only limitation. The stellar ashes of the Zorn Imperium's ambitions became a warning and a testament to the most dangerous quality of humanity: the ability to transform everything it touches. The universe would never be the same.